So I've got Joe Norris from Get Your Tips Out, and today's video is about the Grand National statistics and what stats and betting trends that you have for punters maybe looking to wager a bet in the Aintree Grand National 2024.
Yeah, so I love looking at the trends for the Grand National. Well, for any big handicap, really, I sort of make sure I check the trends. What I would say is I don't go straight to the trends. I look through the race, I find what horses I like, and then I check them against the trends. If the trends go massively against them, I might then be put off. But I think that's the way to do it. Now, for me with the Grand National, there's probably three things that I look at more than anything. Firstly is age. I do think age is a big thing. Secondly is the weights, what weight they're carrying. And thirdly, I would probably say is course form. I think course form and experience can be massive at Aintree. So let's start off with age. If you look at the last 11 run-ins of the race, 8 of them were aged between 7 and 9. So straight away, that is a negative against the favourite, Corach Rambler, who's aged 10 now. So that's one example of how you can sort of start with the trends and then go on from there. I mean, if you look at the weights, you want them carrying between 10 stone 3 and 11 stone 5. 9 of the last 11 winners have carried weight between that. So when I was looking at that earlier, that ruled out Noble Yates, who was carrying 11 stone 11 or something like that. Course form is massive. So 8 of the last 11 winners had one run at Aintree. Only 3 of them 11 had one win there. So really, it's more just having experience at the track rather than winning. Other things to look at are obviously ratings. So 9 of the last 11 winners were rated between 146 and 160. So I think that rules 5 or 6 out. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can get stuck into on the trends. But like anything, you don't just want to solely rely on it. You have to combine it with other factors.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I suppose closer to the races, you can start to look at other like kind of trends with regards to just not specific for the Grand National, but for horses with regards to form on the ground. So if it goes heavy ground or it's good ground, that's a massive factor. I think one of the biggest factors for me when you talk about the weights get handed out quite early on in the season, and obviously a lot of them run after the weights have been given. So you've got like a horse, let's say like Limerick Lace, which you spoke about on some previous videos, where she would now be running off a £6 higher mark than what she would be if she now ran to her actual handicap mark. You could say the same for actually Corach. Even though you think Corach Rambler's quite high up in the weights, he ran an absolute all-time best in his last run, with third in the Gold Cup behind Galloping Deschamps. So he's actually £3 well in on the weights, even though some people go, oh, he's too high in the weights. Well, actually, according to the handicapper, he's £3 well in. So I quite like the head of the handicapper, or can you beat the handicapper type within the weights. I think that's influential as well when you're looking at certain things. But yeah, I mean, I love always coming to yourself with regards to if I like a horse, I'm normally, Joe, does this go within the trends? And I think there's one standout horse that seems to tick all the boxes, which we've mentioned up a few times at a big price, called Mr. Incredible. I think he's ticks a lot of the boxes, and at 20, 25 to 1, I think he's a good solid each way chance. But have you anything else to add then on the stats, or what's your go-to kind of thing when you're looking at it then for the stats and the data of, do you ever look at like horses being heavily backed in, or do you try not to let that get ahead of yourself?
Well, in terms of that, I sort of look at what horses I think are going to get backed in. So not so much once they're getting backed. I don't really, like when I was first looking at it now, I can see Mr. Incredible being one of those that gets well backed towards the race, because he ran in it last year, so he's got that experience of the big day, jumping round. He unseated last year, So you can argue it was more a sort of a jockey error than it was the horse making the error, really.
Yeah.
He was still going well. And I just think people will look at him and he ticks like the trends. He's literally the trends horse of the race.
Yeah.
And he's still 20-1. I think he could go off 10, 12-1.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I do look at it now and I say to myself, who do I think is going to get backed for the race? Another one, Meaton and the Walters, who I like. I think that will be another one that gets backed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of reasons why that will get backed. I think the biggest one with that horse is obviously it's unexposed and it's improving, but the way it ran at Cheltenham, I think it just shaped like it's going to love this trip. He just looks like a out and out galloper, but the issue with him is he lacks experience, which is why you come back to the trends. He doesn't actually tick many of the trends, so that it would have you a bit worried from that respect. But I mean, yeah, like it's always a really lively market as the race gets closer, and now is when you want to be backing your horse rather than waiting, really, because they all tend to shorten as it gets closer.
Yeah, for sure. So anyone who's watching this, let us know what Grand National statistics that you look for. Is there any specific stats or betting patterns or data that you're looking for? Leave a comment in the comment section and let us know for the Grand National 2024 who you think on the statistics and on the data has got the best chances of outrunning their current odds.